think a lot of businesses out there normally will build the cart without having a horse to drive the cart.
Right.
So for us, we had the horse, we built the cart.
Okay.
So that's the analogy that I can share.
Business Lab.
Hi listeners, welcome to yet another episode of the Business Lab podcast. And my name is Abu Sofyan. I'm the founder of Seyrul Consulting, and we help you get buy-in whenever you speak. How do you get someone to choose you whenever you open your mouth? So today's episode is sponsored by our venue sponsors, Craft by 3 and ID Entity, and of course our media magician, StudioFive Corp. So without our sponsors, this episode cannot run. Right. Today, I have another special guest. His name is Mr. Asmadi Ahmad. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sofyan.
All right. So before we begin, a little bit about Asmadi. So he has over 12 years of experience in wealth management and FinTech client relations. He founded G-EMx Technologies, a recognized player in the FinTech landscape, enhancing digital wallet adoption. And he advocates for financial literacy and innovative solutions, aiming to revolutionize financial services through technology. So I think a natural question to just kick things off, how do you get into the FinTech space?
So Sofyan, it began when I was actually a corporate trainer for the Singapore Police Force. So I did this role for 5 years, where I was actually creating the curriculum as well as running the training programs for police officers to be able to use the what we call the QBCon system, which is command and control system for all the police officers when they are on patrol. So I think this is a bit of history that not many people knows me, for that role. So after which then I left the force to begin a foray into this wealth management space. So that is where actually I was introduced to the the financial world, as well as to pick up on the knowledge, right, of the economics, as well as anything to do with the financial world. So having to get a license to before you practice, I think of course equip you with certain knowledge as well as skills before you can serve the public. I think this helps me in terms of understanding of course things like ethics is one of the biggest component of our of the practice as a financial advisor. So I think this is helps me in terms of when I run this business, I know that there are compliance things that needs to be adhered to, right? Regulations as well. So just before starting this business, that was about 5 years ago. So I joined actually a business that does provide services to companies that is setting up in Singapore, as well as to prepare their applications for the payments license with the MAS. So whatever that I'm doing right now, I was doing it back then, but as a compliance officer. So I was preparing the regulatory aspects of the business to be submitted to the MAS.
Okay.
Yeah, but then of course back then I didn't realize that there is an opportunity for me to to kickstart my own business.
Right.
Until a bit later when I realized that some of these acquaintances that I have, they do have a business network that perhaps have the need for corporate accounts, to make payments. I think this is one area that I realized that I can begin, to serve them in a manner that is of course different from what is being offered by the traditional financial institutions.
Yeah.
So with the understanding that if I put together an app, right, to serve the needs of these clients, they can then create corporate accounts through me and then transfer money overseas as well, collect payments from their buyers. So I think this is where I realized that perhaps there is an opportunity.
Right, the light bulb.
Yes, the light bulb moment. So again, there's one more part of it is that the opportunity also came because at around about 3 to 4 years ago, a lot of these companies, right, were finding it tough to open corporate accounts because there was suddenly a stricter regime in place for the onboarding or doing the know your business part of opening a corporate account with the banks. So things that had taken just 2 weeks, perhaps now is taking 2 months, right, or more even for some cases. I think this is the pinpoint that I realized that I can solve, or I can do something about. And make it a business for myself.
So here's the thing, Asmadi, you mentioned that was the pain point, right?
Yes.
So how do you differentiate your company from other payment systems, gateways? What makes your platform different from others to solve that pain point?
Sure. Well, in terms of the technology space, I don't think so. We are that different. We are not unique, or neither are we an early mover in the technology space. But in terms of having the advantage of a pool of ready clients, because these are people from my business network, this is something which is critical. I think a lot of businesses out there normally will build the cart without having a horse to drive the cart.
Right.
So for us, we had the horse. We built the cart.
Okay.
So that's the analogy that I can share.
In one word, what is that horse?
The horse is the clients. So focus on the client's needs, focus on the client's pain points, and you will have a business. If you build a product, that product might take a long time to find traction. I think this is one of the challenges that a lot of technologists, I would say, has, because they thought that, some just because they have a new product, they throw it to the markets will then pick it up and use. Yes, it can work, and as in many technologies or many of these like products out there, like the Google, etc. They actually put it out there and people start using. But if you look at it, they took a long while to get traction. So you must have of course, deep pockets to underwrite such a big, a big business outlay.
Right. So some of the challenges that you faced as you were setting up your own business? I understand you have 12 years of wealth management experience.
Yes.
But what were those roadblocks that you had to overcome in order to get to where you are today in the business?
I would say that the opportunity didn't come knocking on the door just like that. You had to do a deep dive onto what you want, right, in terms of business-wise, and whether will it really take off. So and also I did a lot of discussions with my business partners and also potential investors to understand what are they looking at, right, before they will perhaps invest with us, among other things. So I think this is the area that any business owner has to start with in terms of the process, the mental process. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is that obviously you need to have a problem and you provide some solution, and you need investors and you need to know the market a little bit. Yeah. So I'm very curious to know, because you are in the virtual account space, how does that differ from the traditional account space?
Oh, okay. So what they are referring to, Sofian, that is this virtual accounts, is just a description of a corporate account that when you open an account, say for example with a FinTech company, normally the back end, I would say terminology that's used is they give you a virtual account, but actually at the back end, the funds, especially in Singapore, which is super regulated, MAS ensures that all such monies belonging to clients are sitting in a proper bank. So what happened is that FinTech players will then partner with these banks and then create segregated accounts. So these segregated accounts, meaning like G-EMx Technologies will have our own corporate account with this bank A, and under this bank A you will see maybe 1,000 different accounts, sub-accounts. So sub-accounts is what we are referring to as virtual accounts because it doesn't appear on their own. So yes, so they are actual accounts in the banks. So you will be given a sub-account and you can fund it and you can make transfers out of it.
Okay, so in these virtual accounts, what are some of the trends that you're noticing in the current landscape when it comes to the demographics or the industries or which different industries are actually using this?
Well, I think it doesn't differ that much from the traditional bank accounts per se, because when you are sending to such accounts, it doesn't differ from the normal way that you are sending funds to in a different account.
Right.
Yeah. So for us, we are in the B2B space. We are serving business owners who are making payments to their suppliers, collecting payments from their buyers. So so I think in terms of what you mentioned, virtual accounts, it doesn't differ really in terms of the technicalities of what a virtual account is, and what is a bank account, because it's just a terminology. So perhaps what differs us versus a traditional financial institution, like a bank, is that FinTech companies like ourselves, we provide the clients with a platform where they can then add funds into, say, their account, and this account can be more than one coming from one bank. So that's the difference between us and the traditional bank bank. Yeah, so the FinTech players normally may be able to offer more than one banking account through the different partners at the back end. Yes.
So, for example, traditional bank, you just, let's say, one of bank X.
Yes.
But in FinTech space, in virtual account, there are several banks that are supporting that.
Yeah, it can be more than one. So, like for example, and also the country-wise, these accounts can be sitting in the UK, in the US, in Hong Kong, and in Singapore, of course. So there are different, I would say, differentiation when it comes to the offerings between what we offer and the traditional banks.
Right. I guess a big topic when it comes to transactions and banking cross-border payments would be security. Okay. Right. That topic of security. So what would you say to someone who is wondering how secure are the transactions and how reliable is the platform? What would you say to people who are wondering? Yeah.
So, all right. This is, of course, a critical part of our business. So what I can share with the viewers out there is that there are 3 levels of security that is involved. Of course, we don't tell everyone, but it's of course in our website. But for any business that is opening a corporate account with us, they will get, first of all, an account with a username and password. That's the first level, right? Okay, that's part of the first level. Because then you also have the second part of it, which is the 2-factor authentication, which means that every time you use this username and password, then you also be prompted with a one-time password. Okay. So this you need to check whether it's from your phone or from your email. So then you will have to key it in, and before you can even log in. Oh. Then the other part is that anytime there is a transaction, you also be prompted with this, again, the OTP. Yeah, this will ensure that the funds or the whoever is trying to access to this account is prevented from doing so if they are not the real owner of the account.
I see.
Okay, so this is the first level.
Yeah.
The second level is at the API space. So any transaction or any instructions that is provided or given by the app, right, will be encrypted. So when it's received by our partners, it ensures that all this information is protected and also going to the right parties. Yes. And also vice versa, you can only pull the data when at the back end the API confirms that you are the right party that is supposed to get those data.
So Asmadi, you mentioned level 1 and level 2 of
Yes.
security. What's the third level of security here?
So the third level is provided by our banking partners
Right.
that does the transmissions of the funds. So for example, if we are, the client rather, is doing a SWIFT transaction, right? SWIFT is one type of transaction that can be used to send monies overseas, right? So this will result in the banks receiving those instructions, and they will check, of course, who is the sender and who is the receiver. So if they check that either party, the sender or the receiver, is not in accordance to the AML CFT policy, they will also flag this, meaning they will actually stop the transaction. Okay. Of course, the second part of it is that anytime there is a transaction, the banks does the transaction monitoring at their own end also. So yes, there's always a check at the end before these funds are actually transmitted. Yes. So if a user is using this SWIFT transaction to do the transmission of funds, they can also request for a document called MT103 to confirm whether such funds are being sent and confirmed, because normally the suppliers will be asking like, hey, can you confirm that the funds have been sent? So me as the one that's sending the funds over, I will say that, okay, this is the MT103 document, please check it out. Yeah, this is the proof of payment.
Right. So Asmadi, I sense that there's a lot of deep work here in the technology, especially in the fintech space for the software that you're using. Are there any other kinds of services that your company provides, that G-EMx Technologies provides to serve the clients that you have?
Sure. So while the payments platform is the primary business for us, we also do software development. Yeah, of course for the internal client, which is ourselves, but also is offered on a case-by-case basis to our clients. Like for example, like website development, and also app development. So yeah, just to share with you,
Sure.
actually we have incorporated our subsidiary in Uzbekistan back in April.
Oh.
So we are in the midst of hiring a team over there of software developers, and we already had our office space confirmed. So we are in the planning stage for the renovations actually.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, Sofyan.
All right, so planning stage now. So what is your hopes for that team over at Uzbekistan?
My hope for them actually is to be able to be a revenue generating company that can, of course, can be standing on their own, right, as a subsidiary, and also to be able to support the parent company here back in Singapore in terms of our software development needs.
So
I think first and foremost, we need to understand how the interior design industry works here in Singapore. So majority of the IDs or the people who work within the interior design companies, most of them are actually freelancers. They are not employed based on a full-time basis, so they work on a commission basis. So, and some business models or some ID companies want to have a lot of ID so that they can close a lot of projects on. My personal tip here is start with visiting the IDs that you have shortlisted or you're interested in. Look at their place of work, look at how they work, look at their office. Once you have done that, I think what you should also do here is to ensure that these IDs that you potentially want to engage are HDB licensed. Last but definitely not least, and to me the most important, because I think nobody do this. Okay. Once you have confirmed, or let's say for example, you really want to sign with this ID company, right? Go to Accra website and pull out the company's profile. Firstly, you know who are the directors, you know where is their office, you know when they were incorporated. Most importantly, you know how much they actually put in as the initial investment or the capital. So in the context of my industry, right, the ID industry, right, I always advise my clients, don't look for cheap, look for value. Okay? Because cheap don't guarantee you that you're gonna get what you want. Okay? Because in order to be cheap, there are corners that I need to cut. But instead look for value. And when I talk of value here, it's not just what I use to build your home, how I communicate with you, how prompt am I, you know, how am I, how I can advise you, you know, these are all the value I add, you know. So like for us, because I maintain a very small team, right? So we only manage between 2 or 3 projects a month. We don't do a lot of projects. So this way, my people are better at managing that project. We are at site more frequent. We are constantly there to check if there are mistakes being made, you know. And our communication with the owners are more frequent, more kira macam more in depth. We are able to, yeah, correct.
A big question I wanted to ask you, I mean, it might not be big, but a question I wanted to ask you is very simple, is that the fintech space is, you know, you hear a lot about it, but it can sound a little bit complicated because people don't understand the technology. So how would you simplify what fintech is about and what you do in your platform to, you know, the layperson or for everyone?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the easiest answer to that is, you know, to think about the time when you are queuing up in the bank for almost say for an hour or 2,
right,
and trying to send money somewhere. And when you compare to what we are offering to you via an app, you can make the same transaction within seconds. Yes, that's the biggest. I think that's the best, you know, description in terms of, you know, what is fintech. Fintech is using technology to simplify the process of performing a financial transaction.
So from hours to seconds.
Yes.
Right.
And if you recall, back then we had to fill up a lot of forms, triplicate, in triplicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
To send money somewhere else, you need to make, you know, to fill up the forms before you can even submit to the teller, and the teller will process it, and then you have to wait some more. Yeah, I think that's what we are saving for the clients.
So save time. So that's a big pain point there.
Yes, there's a big.
Besides saving time, is there anything else that I think is a USP that people need to know when it comes to fintech and the work that you do?
So, okay, there's a lot of trust that you have to have in the technology, and thankfully we are, you know, situated in a country that is very strict in terms of the regulatory aspects of finance, right? So MAS ensures that all payment operators are performing or are able to provide this security to our clients in terms of the technology, cyber security, and also, you know, financial security, among other things.
Right.
Yes.
So you've been in the space for what, 12 years, you know, wealth management space, and then you know, with the current company, what are some of the future trends that you foresee is likely to happen, and how would we overcome them, in your view?
I think the trends is not something that we need to overcome.
Right.
It's something that we need to follow and even adopt. Right. So for business owners, I think. Of course, they will go for something that is easy and secure. So technologies like cryptocurrencies, right, stable coins are now becoming more the norm, right? That's what I think is like understood by many. So slowly but surely, I believe this is something that we will also adopt, right? As long as this is in line with the regulations of the MAS, yes, we will adopt those technologies, because at some juncture, these blockchain and cryptocurrencies, for example, and even stable coins, right, is not something that is accepted easily, right? And there's a lot of obstacles to acceptance by users, by business owners. So, but slowly but surely, I think this is where we are getting into, because with the usage of, say, stable coins, these cryptocurrencies can be transmitted in a microsecond and it will appear in your bank account. Instead of, let's say, if it's a fiat currency, of course, due to the fact that we are operating using traditional modes of finance, there's going to be check and balance. There's a lot of things that can still be pretty manual. But when it comes to these stable coins, for example, it is basically, seconds.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess the follow-up question to that, what kind of advice would you give to businesses who are looking to expand into cross-border markets?
Okay, so perhaps, thanks to my recent foray into Uzbekistan, perhaps my take on this is that it's good for you to understand the legalities of doing so, right? Get a local team to be in place before you even, expand your operations there. Okay, so the local team will be, among others, you need to have, the accountant, a lawyer, right, and also maybe a manager who will oversee the initial setup. I think this is what we have done so far.
Right, and what was the process like after you set up the team? What will be the next priority naturally?
Well, of course, the business development comes next. Product creation. Of course, product creation comes first for this new setup. After which you need to market it and get the business development team out in the streets to look for business.
Right. I see. Okay. So I guess is there any final piece of advice you would give to business owners when it comes to making cross-border payments or choosing a platform for their payments?
Sure.
Gateway?
So I think what I can perhaps share with our viewers, our business owners, is that do not be afraid to explore FinTech, let's say, for example, offerings. FinTech offerings can be easier to use than the traditional modes of payments. If you are to, again, go down to a branch office of a traditional bank, I think this is something that will save you a lot of time. I think, and also at the same time, again, going back to the security that's provided due to the strict regulations from MES, so all FinTech players need to offer that security to you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing with us about your platform.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. This podcast is definitely with the support of our venue sponsor, Craft by Tree and ID Entity, and of course our media magician, StudioFive Corp. We'd like to thank all our sponsors for the beautiful set and the production, and of course, you might see a description where you're getting this podcast on LinkedIn or Spotify or Instagram. So if there's a survey, do fill it up so you can help us improve the episode. And with that, we'll catch you for the next episode. Take care. See you then. Bye-bye.